Hello everyone, it's another video to how to solve a camouflage 3x3 cube. Before we get to solving it, I want to just go through how does this thing work and how is it made. It does this really strange thing when you turn. There seems to be out of axis and it just does this weird and wonderful things. Initially when you look at it was like 3x3, except they're not quite the same size. It looks different looks, but as soon as you turn it, it's obvious that it's not a 3x3 and does strange things. After watching a couple of videos from Twisty Puzzling, which has a couple of really good tutorials regarding how to solve this, I decided to make one of my own. When I bought this, it seemed very flimsy and it was very catchy at times and popped quite often. But before I get to it, before I actually start solving it, I decided to make a video of what it is and how it behaves. What this cube in fact is a 4x4 which has been bandaged in a certain way to look like a 3x3, which this seems strange, but in fact that's what this is. That cube is been bandaged to look like that. Of course, that itself is quite obvious that it is not a standard 3x3. These are bigger than them and they're different size cubes. But if you count this 3x3 by 3, so it is a 4x4. As you can see there, you can still see the each cube is. It's been bandaged, so there was this. It was bandaged to look like that, to look like a 3x3, and that in fact is this cube with a slight difference. In my cube, the sizes are different. There's a big one and two smaller ones, but in this one, the center one is smaller and the other two is bigger. The reason for it is that cube has been extended. So if I put that there too for comparison, you can tell this is that, but it's been extended bigger, so it's the same size as this one further up. The centerpiece is that centerpiece, and that one is this one, but it's been extended wider. The width of this is the same as that. So if you can picture that making it wider, that making it wider, of course this little corner one will get extended in both directions, will look like that, and it looked like a much bigger 3x3 of course, but too wide on each side and a thin one in the middle, which is that one, and it will look like more like a 3x3 than it does. But the behavior of these two are exactly the same, with one major difference. Because these have not been extended, as you turn them, they keep their cubic shape. But when you turn this, it's the extension of course pops out from each end and makes it look more strange and challenging. And of course it is slightly challenging, but the algorithm are exactly the same as what it would be. So what I'm going to do to try to explain how to identify each one of these blocks are what and how to solve them. In previous video I showed you how to solve this one. The algorithms are exactly the same, but advantage of this cube is you can actually tell which one goes with which cube. These blocks are together, that's a solid, two of them, and a solid one, so it's quite easy to separate. In this one, that cube is exactly same as that one, exactly same as that one, so lives up to its name. It has been camouflaged. These small cubies have been camouflaged to look like the big one. They thin tiles have been extended to camouflage like that one. So all of these corners, which in this one quite obviously are different, are exactly the same as the big one. So the challenge with this is to identify where is the big one and where the other ones are, how to bandage them together. If you look at this one in closer, then you see it's a corner one with 3 edges and 3 centers. So one corner, 3 edges and 3 centers are bandaged together as one lump. So one of these blocks is that. Now how do we identify that one? As we talked about this before, when you turn this, it behaves like a 2x2. So as a 2x2, this unit, it doesn't get mixed up, it's always the same. The rest can get, but this one doesn't. In this one, there is a unit that does that. Now to find them, if you look at this carefully and I twist that, you should be able to identify the center of rotation. In between the two cross, there's 4 centers, and from those 4 centers, one of them does not move. You spotted it yet? It's not one there. So this in fact is a center of axis. That's one of them. If I turn it there and try the same with this one, you spotted that one yet? It is there. So I know it's from there going through, from here and going through. If I turn that across, if you look at that, it should be this one here. Yeah, you spotted that? So there's an axis going all the way through there. There's an axis going through here. So I have that and that as a 2 axis. Now, if them two are 2 axis, imagine a pin through here and a pin through there. If I turn that around, there should be a pin where the 2 crosses. So this one, by right, should not turn. As you can see, it doesn't. So this is not a turn. In other words, there is a center of rotation through this pin, and that pin. In other words, this block there is independent of all the rest. It does not get mixed, and it rotates every time fully without getting mixed up with anything else. So that one must be this big one. Now the moment you identify that, the rest of it should fall into place, because if I have a big one here, I have a very small one in that far corner. So if this is my big one, that should be my very small one extended. When you get that in your head, or identify that, we don't have to worry about the small one yet, because when we get the big one identified, we build around that one. So what I'm thinking is, it's too much talk and not enough solve. It makes the video quite boring, doesn't it? So let's have a mix, see how that works. So if I mix this, I'm trying to not to mix each section, but just the 2x2. Now, it's a little bit more obvious if you look at that one. There is a fair amount of QBs stuck together there. There is a tile, kind of tile there, another tile there, a little bar there, little bar there. But look, that's completely on its own. So in fact, if I look at this big cube must be that one. The ones who had 2 wide tiles must be similar to this one. If you look at them too carefully, this one, them two are the same. Them two are the one extend. This one has been extended to look like that. For that one, if I look at it carefully, it must be one of these. If I hold it like that, there is a bar, there's a center, there's an edge, there's a corner, and another edge. Of course, the centers are the same. This one has been extended outward to look like that. That one has been extended outward to look like this. And that one extended up to look like that. Yeah? So when it comes to this one, quite a fair amount of cubies together, and that must be these little ones. There's a center. There is that one extended upwards. That one extended upwards. This center here must have been expanded up to flush with that. that one expanded the other way, and this little one has been extended in every dimension to look like that. So we have a set of cubes, some of them extended, some of them haven't. They've been paired up together to look like that. The object and the first stage after full mix is to make it look like this. So basically reduce each corner to its base elements, and then from the base elements solve it like a 2x2. And to do that, you always start with the most reduced one, to something that you cannot do anything with, all that has been done. So identifying this is important, and then when you identify that, you build around it, just like we did with that one. If you remember, if you haven't watched it, I suggest for you to have a look. It's this cube, we extended it that way, then solved it that way, then did them. That solved these. Or you can of course do that way, and then solve that. That solves the bottom 4 cubies. Then you turn it around and solve it from the top. Did this section, and then they fell into place more or less. So for this one, in theory, we pick these 2 colors and solve that way, pick them 2 colors, solve that way, and then solve this. Or you can do it that way and that way. It doesn't matter which 2 ways you go, but you solve everything to do with that colors. Pick one of the colors, solve it fully, and then turn it around. When you're solving the top, we start with, where is it? That one. We always solve that because it's the most complex. When we put these together, the rest should fall into place. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a mix first, and then on next video we'll come back and have a look at how to solve it. The only thing with mixing this, you need to bear in mind, because it's bandaged, after this solve, the rest is getting a bit more tricky to solve. It takes some thinking to solve this, because I can of course mix this, because if you remember we're talking about a line on the top layer all the way across. I have that, so I can mix that. But the moment I mix this, if I turn that one around, remember that, down, across, up, tuck in, down, across, up. That was the edge rotation. I will not be able to mix this anymore because that bar will stand up and get in the way. So if I turn that back, we was clockwise rotation was down, tuck in, up, cross, down, tuck in, up. That will allow me rotation there. So what I want to do is try to find in lines that when I turn it, I can still have rotation on the top layer. In that way I can mix more. So this one needs to be turned anti-clockwise, down, across, up, tuck in, down, across, up. That will turn it. Now of course when I turn in this, if you see, it'll break them 2 up. Of course when I break them 2 up, I need to break it. See, if you look at that one, them 2 are still together, them 2 are still together, but if I rotate this, I cannot break them up. So what I want to do is turn it so I still have a line with the different colors and rotate that one. So that is anti-clockwise rotation, which is down, across, up, tuck in, down, across, up. Then I can turn that and break them 2 colors up. As you can see, when you keep that in mind and break them up, if them 2 are together, I want to break them, there's a line across there. So I can turn this clockwise, which is down, tuck in, up, across, down, tuck in, up, and then I can break these 2 up. So it does have certain amount of thinking. You need to bear in mind how you mix in this, so you can actually break all the colors, otherwise the mix won't be as well. After a few of them, for instance, this QB there has been nicely fairly mixed, but the bottom layer has not been touched. So then I can take that down and bring that up into a mix. So next time I'm turning, I will break these up, and so on and so forth. Then bring the next one up and mix that, and so on and so forth until all of them are mixed. It takes a little bit of time to mix this, but better mix you have, more challenging solve you will have. In the meantime, If you haven't watched the video to solve this, it's called a 3x3 camouflage unmasked. I suggest you go and have a look. I'll go slower when I'm solving this one for the algorithm for you to take a note of or learn, but we'll use the exact same algorithm to solve this one. So I'll give this a mix. When it's fully mixed, I'll come back to you and we'll go through the solve. Thank you very much for watching.